Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, just went absolutely scorched earth on the left-wing mainstream propaganda media. You see, for weeks now, she's been dealing with these so-called reporters who don't even pretend to be journalists anymore. They show up to the White House press room not to ask real questions, but rather to play gotcha games, push Democrat narratives, and create viral moments for their progressive fan bases. You see, for them, it's not about facts, it's not about journalism, it's about progressive grandstanding. And you know what? Carolyn Leavitt has had enough. And folks, I'll tell you what, these progressive activists in the left-wing media have absolutely zero sense of respect or basic decorum. They act like a bunch of spoiled brats inside of the White House press room, and they throw a fit anytime someone challenges them. You know what? Take a look at what happened just a couple days ago.
And he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
They
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
So folks, there you have it. That is exactly the type of behavior that Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt has been dealing with for weeks. It's just day after day of progressive theatrics. But like I said, Carolyn Leavitt has had enough. And last night, she absolutely unloaded on the progressive media. Take a look.
Joining me now is the woman herself in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to see you, Maria. Thanks for having me.
How would you characterize the quote-unquote resist and the challenges from, I guess, AP has been pushing back on your press conferences pretty often?
Sure. Well, first of all, with that individual reporter from the Associated Press who tried to test me on tariffs, he clearly fails to see President Trump's long-term economic strategy, which is to bring in so much revenue, so much wealth into our country through tariffs that we can give larger tax cuts to the American people to put more money back into their pockets. He clearly didn't understand that very simple idea. But as for the greater mainstream media's coverage, I think that example proves that they are continue to double down on their failing ways. They focus on sensationalism, on trying to get a viral moment rather than asking tough questions with honest integrity and journalistic curiosity, wanting to know the answers. They want to make a name for themselves. And that's why the trust in the mainstream media has fallen to record lows. And that's why at the White House, we are very proud of the changes that we have made to the briefing room and also to the press coverage of this president, welcoming in independent voices and new media who truly care about the truth, honesty, and accuracy.
And now, folks, everything she just said is 100% true. These so-called journalists couldn't give a rat's patootie about the truth. They're not interested in holding power accountable. They're not here to ask legitimate questions. Instead, they're either trying to create a viral moment with a gotcha question, or they're trying to use their platform to preach their progressive nonsense instead of actually doing their jobs. And you know what? Let's not forget the mainstream left-wing media spent 4 years covering up for Joe Biden while his administration destroyed this country. They never asked him a single tough question. They never pushed back on anything. They just sat there and nodded along. But the second President Trump walks back into the White House, suddenly they remember how to hold a president accountable. Suddenly they care about ethics in government. Give me a break. But you know what, folks? It's not just the Associated Press that's engaging in this type of garbage. Take a look.
Yeah, but you know, it's more than AP. It's basically the Washington press in terms of resisting President Trump. You also have these judges who are resisting. We're going to talk about this most recent federal judge's move with Jim Jordan coming up. But what do you want to say about the general resistance to this president's policies that you are witness to?
President Trump is not shy of resistance. He has been facing more resistance than anyone who has ever run for office in American history. And the mainstream media is part of that. But also, as you mentioned, we have judges in our judicial branch who are acting as activists, not real arbiters of the law. And there has been 15 injunctions in 1 month of President Trump's agenda. The Biden White House only faced 13 injunctions in the entirety of his presidency. And so clearly there are left-wing activists who sit behind a bench in a courthouse who don't like this president and his policies. But the fact is, everything President Trump is doing is within his executive authority to do it. He is acting within the bounds of the law. All of his actions are constitutional, and our White House and the entire administration are prepared to fight back against this resistance. Don't bet against President Trump. I think his epic return to the Oval Office proves that he is going to win against the weaponization of our justice system.
Did you all hear that? During President Biden's entire 4-year-long presidency, he only faced 13 injunctions from federal judges. Meanwhile, President Trump, he's had to deal with 15 already, and he's only been back in office for a month. So yeah, everything Press Secretary Leavitt just said about partisan activist judges trying to block Trump at every turn is absolutely true. We all know it. We all see it happening in real time. The deep state, the courts, and the media are all working together to try to slow down President Trump's America First agenda. And you know what? They're not even trying to hide it. Now, I want you guys to take a listen to what Carolyn Leavitt had to say about Trump's presidential performance so far. But first, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, take a look at this.
Yeah, let's get to some of the president's wins. And of course, you have to note the border as a major win. The daily average of migrants crossing the border illegally and escaping into the interior of the country has plummeted to just 77 compared to an average of over 1,800 gotaways under Biden's fiscal year 2023. That's a decline of 96% of those gotaways from record highs. The number of illegal Chinese crossings, the Chinese crossers also plummeting with just 130 Chinese migrants apprehended by Border Patrol last month. That compares to over 3,500 the year earlier under Biden. What do you want to say about the border crackdown? And here, too, the pressure and the pushback that the president is getting from some of these judges.
In just 1 month, President Trump has used his executive authority to secure our southern border. It proves that everybody who claimed we needed a border bill was wrong. We just needed a new president who actually cared about securing our homeland and enforcing our immigration laws. You mentioned daily gotaways, 77. That's an astronomical decrease from the previous administration. There's been a 99% decrease of illegal migrants crossing through the Darien Gap. If you talk to Border Patrol agents and ICE agents, they will tell you that camaraderie in these agencies is at an all-time high because they are actually being allowed to do their jobs. In breaking news this morning, Maria, the president signed a proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act against Tren de Aragua members who have invaded our country. These are the most violent, heinous criminal monsters you could ever imagine. They have taken the lives of innocent American women like Jocelyn Nungre and Laken Riley, and the president invoked this authority to deport nearly 300 of them who are now in El Salvador, where they will be behind bars where they belong rather than roaming freely in American communities.
You know what? I love that she just said that. She said that these violent criminal cartel gang members were roaming freely in American communities. And you know what? She's 100% right. As you all know, under President Joe Biden's leadership, that's exactly what was happening. These violent thugs were just walking right into America without resistance, without consequences, and without a care in the world. And in case you forgot, Biden actually flew some of them into the country himself. But now, those days are over. And you know what? Let's be honest here, folks. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt is actually playing a huge role in all of this. She's holding these radical leftist media activists accountable every single day. She's pushing back on all of their nonsense. She's getting up there and fighting back in a way that we haven't seen for years. And you know what? I don't know about you guys, but personally, I think she's a little bit of an upgrade over our last press secretary. But now, folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates relating to all of this. So if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for this video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. Like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really, seriously does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.